Welcome, Jayanth, and thanks for joining today.
Thank you, Sam-Erik, and as always, a pleasure.
You're making a bold statement that the era of technologists being the rock star of our generation is over. Could you help us to understand what you mean by that?
Okay, so I will answer that question in two parts, and this is something that I have observed, very recently. In fact, about 4 5 months back, when I was watching this. In fact, I was watching the last episode of this Netflix show called Playlist. Right? It's a Netflix show about the formation of Spotify, which actually essentially came out of Sweden. Your neighbor and your part of the world actually, and that series in the last episode paints a picture of a little bit into the future of 2025, how the technology led startup ecosystem and billion-dollar company ecosystem, and how technology is disrupting, digital technology is disrupting our way of life for the last few decades that we've observed. Okay, has sort of plateaued in the year of 2025, and that got me thinking, and that's when I did some trend analysis, historical trend analysis, and and that's when I realized that actually the era of the technologist or the digital technology, software developer being the center or rock star of our generation is coming to an end. That era is coming to an end, and if you look at it, that's been a sort of a historical trend that every 25 years in our world, one character or one stakeholder has been made the center, or the profession to look up for, and by that, the entire productive generation, the productive population around the world have been chasing to become that particular actor. Let me give you an example, and the historical trend analysis that I've seen. The technologists started becoming coming into prominence or getting a lot of attention in the late 90s with just the start of the dot-com bubble. Okay, and we are about 23 25 years into that, and we've seen beyond the dot-com bubble, which is called the web 1.0 or the internet era. Then 10 years 12 years ago, we've seen the entire mobile smartphone app ecosystem era, and in the very recent past, the emergence of data analytics and the AI, which is about to take off, the AI era. And in all of this, the technologists had played a huge role, and everyone wanted to become that. The billionaires of our generation, be it Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, or Mark Zuckerberg, Larry Page, and Sergey Brin, and some of the Europeans, the Danny X of the world, have all been technologists, right? But now what's happening is technology. Technology and digital technologies and that development is getting to the masses, okay, and it's getting commoditized. Okay, the similar thing happened to various other professions in the past. So in the 90s, if you remember, in the 80s and the 90s, the Wall Streeters or the stockbrokers, were the most hottest profession, and everyone wanted to become a stockbroker, right? I mean, they were the rock stars. Before that, it was literally the pop stars and the rock stars and the Hollywood actors, right? For 25 years in the 70s, 60s, and the 70s especially. Okay, before that, it was the writers, it was the poets, right? So every 25 years, we've seen that one particular character, was given the rock star status, and everyone the entire productive population or the generation wanted to become that and chase that particular profession. But what happened is, after about 25 30 years, everything that they were doing was getting commoditized. Like, you and I sitting at our home using our demat accounts can trade in stocks right now. We don't need a Wall Street stockbroker. The intelligence that they had is now available for individual consumers and retail investors like us, right? Similarly, the uh, entire space of uh, creating movies and content and the entire influencer or the celebrity culture. Okay, thanks to YouTube Shorts, TikToks, Instagram Reels, everybody is an influencer. I mean, now we don't have the big Hollywood rock stars or Hollywood actors or the rock stars as the big celebrities anymore. Now, if you look at it, most of the marketing dollars are are chasing actually the Instagram influencers, and there are millions of them, right? So it's getting commoditized, right? And this has been a cycle every 25 years if you observe, right? Writing, now authors are writing thanks to blogging. Everybody's a writer. Okay, so what has been a special skill set, and that particular person or that particular profession excelling in that skill set over about 25-30 years gets commoditized, and everybody gets to do that. And I personally believe that technologists, okay, being the rock stars and the center of our generation and getting all the attention, getting the center stage is over. Because cyclically, they've been the center of attention for 25 years now, okay, 25 years. And second, and this is the second part of the answer for that question, the technologies, and starting with generative AI, which we are going to speak a lot about on this podcast, okay, are actually getting there to help everyone to become a programmer right now. Guess what, Sam-Erik? English is the new programming language, thanks to ChatGPT. Right? Yes. You just have to give a good prompt, okay, and the ChatGPT engine, the generative AI engine, will actually create a code for you, okay, with which you can build a software product, a digital solution. Okay, so English is a new programming language. You don't need C, C++, .NET, okay, C hashes, and nothing of those sorts. Okay, and what that, yeah, right, and what that means is, okay, everyone can now become a coder. Everyone now can become a digital product builder, okay, or digital solution builder. Okay, and now this is we are at the inflection point or at the precipice of some of these technologies making some of the digital technology product solution service building commoditized and take it to everybody's hands, and thereby taking the sheen off of the erstwhile rock stars up until now of this generation who were technologists.
So just for our viewers who don't fully understand what is a generative AI, what does it actually mean for the regular person? I mean, I was really ignorant until November about it.
Right.
And you've been talking with me about, you've been hammering in my head about this is what it is, and I still didn't get it. Now yes. I get it. But could you just kind of repeat simply what does it actually mean in practicality for somebody that that he should be everyday practice, like we practiced how to write emails before, yes. Or when we moved from typewriters to computers, we have to learn how to use rockstar word processing programs in the history of computers. But now it's about prompts. What does yes. it actually mean?
Okay, let me give you the difference. The machine learning or the artificial intelligence algorithms or the models up until very recently, up until like you mentioned, November of 2022 till ChatGPT was launched, machines were only considered to be intelligent in terms of predictions, right? Trend analysis and predictions, depending on the data and the information that they are fed. Okay, depending on how the algorithms or the machine learning models were written to understand and decode that data and derive intelligence out of them. Okay, so they were primarily good at pattern recognition and trend analysis, and thereby by extending predictive analysis, right? They were able to predict, but that was also primarily coming from the historical trends that they were deriving out of the information and data that they were fed into. Okay, that was fed into them. Now, what that meant was the artificial intelligence engines or the machine learning algorithms, okay, were very dependent on, and the output of these algorithms or these engines were almost dependent only on the data, the amount of data, and the kind of data that was fed into them, right? It was thought that AI engines will not are not yet ready to generate anything out of thin air from the scratch by themselves. Okay, but that changed. Okay, with this new advancement in the AI technology called generative AI. Okay, and this advancement, I don't want to go too deep into the technicalities of it, has happened because of the invention of a new model or methodology of getting the machines to learn, and it's called reinforcement learning, wherein two machine learning algorithms are pit against one another, and they act like a master and a slave. One tries to learn, the other one corrects. The one tries to learn, and the other one corrects. So if you can think about it, machines don't get tired. They can work 24/7 by 365. Thereby, if they are master and slave, unlike humans, they can keep fine-tuning and correcting each other, and thereby they started generating content. Okay, and that is why and now artificial intelligence models or artificial intelligence machines or engines and algorithms generating something new out of thin air, which could be a lot or significantly different from the data or the information that has been fed into them, is the entire new advancement in the technology space, especially in the AI space, and it is going to be an advancement in the way that we live our day-to-day lives as well.
Do you mean this is really has been by using the word revolutionary, what has happened in November, at least, to bring in it to the public? I mean, it was invented earlier.
Oh yes, absolutely. So the launch of ChatGPT, okay, is definitely revolutionary. Okay, at least the public launch of it has definitely been revolutionary, and the way it has been performing, the way it has been learning ever since it's been launched and performing and fine-tuning itself. I remember in the first few weeks, it could not clear some of the law exams or the essay, even on SATs in US, it scored very low. But fast forward 2-3 months, it was learning unto itself, and it was acing SATs. It was clearing those law exams, and it happened only in this in the span of 2 to 3 months. How even after launching, how soon it's been learning and fine tuning and correcting itself, how powerful it's been becoming in terms of accuracy. Okay, in terms of its capabilities. Okay, that all these things taken into consideration, it's nothing short of revolutionary. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I started to use one of those generative programs for writing, for blog writing, and I had really in the beginning difficulty to understand what I should ask and what is the context and the detail, and to be very specific. So whatever I put in there, it is able to create the content for me, but I have to also understand what am I trying to get out of it at the end. So it's not just asking a question like how is there life on Mars kind of a question, because it's not going to give you what you're looking for, but it's really able to write those prompts. And this is something I think that I mean, just a question for you. I mean, how important is it to practice, to learn how to use prompts? What is the benefit of doing that?
Oh, absolutely. So prompt engineering or prompt designing is still a gap, and it's an opportunity. Actually, there could be a whole bunch of new startups that can come up that can help help people write better prompts. Okay, and thereby helping these generative AI engines like ChatGPT, for example, generate better, more accurate content for you, right? Yeah. So essentially, what is prompt engineering is, on one side, there exists this generative AI engines like ChatGPT or DALL-E 2 in the case of generating pictures and graphics, right? But their output is only dependent on the prompt that you put in English in that generation box, right? I mean, in Google search we call it the search box. Here,
Yes.
let's call it the generation box. I don't know what it is called. I'm just giving it my name, right?
Yes.
So depending on how intelligent or how accurate or that particular prompt is, right? But what happens is not everyone will be able to articulate or express themselves in their language, be it English or in any other language, in that generation box in terms of what they're looking for. They might be thinking of something, but they might be entering something else, and when the output comes, they might not be completely satisfied with it or happy with it, right? So there still exists a gap between the way humans intuitively behave and where the generative AI engines are there in terms of generating the output or the content, right? There's a gap, but nevertheless there's a gap. Okay, there's a small gap, but nevertheless there is a gap. Bridging that gap is the opportunity of intelligent prompt engineering or prompt designing. I would like to call it prompt designing, right? Because it's more of a design thinking methodology than an engineering methodology. Engineering is very very binary, very 0 to 1, and very dry in nature. Here you're getting the machines closer to the humans. Okay,
Yes.
you're not asking humans to learn the way the machines behave. You're actually getting the machines closer to humans. That will include a lot of understanding of psychology, anthropology, sociology, or cultural aspects. Okay, linguistic aspects. Okay, and all of these to some extent are to some or other extent are captured in design thinking domain as opposed to engineering domain. So this is more of a prompt designing opportunity that exists, and there are companies that are working for it. For example, I know, and I'm advising a company which is helping people get their resumes built using ChatGPT and helping them with better prompt designing for their own resumes. I mean, some of the professionals, they are great professionals. They've been working in the industry for different companies for 10, 15, 20 years. But when it comes to building their resume, they probably are not the best. They struggle. I mean, I personally have friends, even at senior management level, who struggle to make their resume. Guess what? Today, a ChatGPT engine or a generative AI engine can help you build your resume, but you need to provide the right prompts. So if you're struggling to provide it right prompts, there exists a small opportunity where can there be a human resources technology company that's good in prompt designing, that no matter you can give the keywords basis your basis your profession and your resume, but it helps the generative AI engine build out a very accurate resume of yours. That's a real life, real world use case, right?
Yeah.
So prompt designing as a domain, as an application is being developed there. That's just one of the use cases. So prompt designing exists as an opportunity for the next 2-3 years. I believe that 10 years ago, how mobile app companies became a lot of tech startup revolution. For the next 2-3 years, I believe that prompt designing companies are going to be, we are going to be having a swarm of prompt design companies which are going to follow the same mobile app revolution and in terms of numbers.
Let's move over to tourism and hospitality industry and talk about how this kind of industry can leverage advancement in generative AI space. I mean, I see that there's a potential, and many people I ask are they familiar with ChatGPT? They say, yes, I am. I said, well, what do you do with this? Oh, it's only for marketing. I see. So it's helping them to write the cold call sales letter or email. But there is a much more involved there, and I think one of the things I think we could discuss a number of cases which how this can be better used, and then this will open all our eyes how how a great tool and how it actually will change our lives again. So maybe we can talk about let's say a chatbot. Chatbots were used to be very mechanical, but what has happened with if we consider what we know about the generative AI space? How has chatbots been advanced?
So that's very interesting. When you talk to people, you ask them about, have you worked with ChatGPT? Have you played around with it? And you get an answer yes, and they say that right now it's being used in marketing. But what you should go ahead and ask them is, okay, have you played around with DALI 2 or Mid Journey, or do you know, have you heard of make a video from Meta, the parent company of Facebook, or imagine video that's coming from Google, or called as Gen 1 or Gen 2 coming from Runway ML. The reason that I say some of these things is ChatGPT is the first of its kind generative AI engine that's been launched publicly. Okay.
Yeah.
And what it does is it takes a text prompt and generates a text based output in terms of an article, a blog, a summary, an analysis, okay, a synthesis of information and everything, but it's all text based. Okay, then some of the generative AI engines that I just mentioned, that be it Playground AI, be it DALI 2 or Mid Journey, they take the text input as a prompt and generate graphics. Okay, so you can get as creative as possible. You can say, a Finnish young man, Sam-Erik, surfing on an Indian beach. Okay, so and it could generate a picture of you with with your Finnish attire in on an Indian beach, or something like that. I mean, I remember my first prompt playing around with DALI 2 a few months back was generating a Victorian damsel, okay, a Victorian era damsel riding a Harley Davidson motorcycle in rural India. Okay, and it did generate. It generated a picture. Okay, now going forward, make a video which Facebook is going to launch, or Imagine Video, or in fact something called as Gen 2 that Runway ML is working on. These are companies that are working on. They can take a text input and create a video for you. So now imagine, with just one text input, you can create an entire video. And imagine in the marketing space, in the content creation space, okay, in this entire space of YouTube Reels, YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels and TikTok videos, how generative AI can play a role in terms of if you can just generate photo and video content. Okay, now this is very helpful, obviously, in the space of marketing, across industries, and specifically hospitality and tourism as well. Okay, and the next one, now marketing people of different companies don't have to spend a lot of time and energy and money giving briefs to the agencies, getting the ad developed or the first cut developed, and then getting it fine-tuned through a few iterations. They can do it with a computer in about 3 seconds sitting in front of them, right? Yeah. So the entire game of marketing goes to a next level, and thereby content creation, be it blogging or vlogging. Okay, chatbots up until now have been just automated machines, or automated FAQ machines, right? The frequently answered questions, and they used to be very canned responses. With generative AI, something like a ChatGPT API integrated, or a GPT engine behind, chatbots will become very extremely human-like, capable of having human-like long conversations, extremely accurate, contextual, and relevance, right? Depend for the same question that you would ask a chatbot sitting in Helsinki versus me sitting in Bangalore, the response would be different. It would be as though we are chatting with a human on the other side. It would be more descriptive, engaging, and long as well, and fairly accurate and contextual as well, right? for you and I differently. So that way the engagement, and the interaction, even for something as small as a chatbot application or a use case, the experience goes to a completely different level with the generative AI engines at the back end.
Yeah, I read about the companies like Booking.com and Expedia, that they are advancing into the generative AI space. And for instance, if you are booking your flight, let's say you are flying to Bangalore, and then you book your ticket. Once you arrive, and while you're making your booking, then the Booking.com, they will also recommend, oh, by the way, there is a Hilton next to the airport, so may I make a booking for you? This didn't used to happen before. You have to ask everything specifically, but now this has changed, and then they are able to track about the past customer data, your past purchases, etc., and make some very personal recommendation. And I think that is in one way, it's a threat for the hotels that it's so important to buy into this technology now, because the Booking.com has the marketing power and the resources to do all these things. But how can we then get the customer to book the hotel directly? So that answer really is that learn how to use these things, because it doesn't cost a lot of money to get started, but you have to really start now. So what leads me now to the next point is about the personalized recommendations, because it can be used to analyze customer data, your preferences, past purchases, search history, and provide personalized recommendation. So how much more can this generative AI do for us, and how does it work to get personalized recommendations? That where do they get all this data from? Because in the past I had to use a kind of a Cardex to write in that Mr. and Mrs. Smith were like this and this, but now it's all in a system.
Correct. So number one, as of last month, exactly 4 weeks back, ChatGPT went ahead and created plugins and partnered with 11 different companies. Okay. And 4 of them were actually from the tourism and the hospitality industry. Expedia, Kayak, OpenTable, and there was one Speak, the AI-powered language tutor. Okay, 4 out of the 11 plugins that ChatGPT, integrated with were actually from the tourism and the hospitality industry. Okay, so now using ChatGPT in real time, you can book flights using Kayak, you can book hotels, you can book restaurant tables, and you can use language translators and foreign translators as well. Everything in real time. So from just being providing you a summary in the form of text, okay, ChatGPT is evolving into becoming your Booking.com in real time as well. So you can ask it, get me the cheapest hotels or the cheapest flight route, and it will start doing that. All these companies, they have been digital companies, they have been digital platforms since the Web 1.0 era. Expedia, TripAdvisor, all these guys, and they have been catering to the travelers, and being that middleman or the aggregator between the tourism and the hospitality industry providers, okay, service providers, and the guests and the consumers, okay. And they have been generating a lot of data, and this data is now being made to be intelligent and being used for by AI engines to provide better service, better real-time service from the consumer's point of view. Having said that, the hospitality providers, okay, also have a option and an opportunity here, okay, to play, not play, to understand how these generative AI engines work, okay, and get their pricing and marketing and their interaction strategy right with some of these players or the aggregators, right? You asked me, how do these guys get their data? So for the last 10 or 12 years, most of the websites that we log on to, okay, apart from the browser, we log on using either a Google sign-on, single sign-on, either a Google sign-on or a Facebook sign-on, right? So your basic profile, as far as Google is concerned, based on Gmail or YouTube, your name, where do you stay, your date of birth, your basic socio-economic not socio-economic, but demographic profile already exists with these companies, and Facebook also has them. So you've been using your Facebook ID to log on to various other sites, be it Reddit or or Pinterest or TripAdvisor or Booking.com and all of these, right? So these companies have been accessing or getting your profile, and then they have been tracking your behavior as well. So over a period of time, okay, they know if right now I'm on the Chrome browser, if I open booking.com, it automatically opens through my email address, or that's my username. It's jayan.kolla@gmail.com. It's a convenience for me because every time I don't have to log into booking.com. But at the same time, I'm also helping booking.com's engine better understand my travel behavior, my stay behavior, which hotels do I prefer, what kind of food do I prefer if I'm making restaurant bookings using OpenTable, all of that information, right? And helping them become intelligent. And they are now partnering with even more intelligent engines, such as the generative AI engines, to use the power of generative AI intelligence to offer more customized and personalized services and offerings. So this is how it's all connected actually.
Yeah. How about translation services? Is it possible to have real-time translation services for customers who speak different languages? Considering that as a hotel staff, you obviously have your native language. You maybe speak in one or two other languages, but then you have somebody who approaches you with a language that you're not familiar with. Is it true that it's possible to create this kind of a service by generative AI?
Oh yes, absolutely. In almost real time, you can create foreign language translation services. Okay. In fact, the language translation is another area, another industry which is about to get hit an inflection point, or get a very revolutionary change thanks to generative AI, and the usage and the application of which in the hotel industry is actually one of the applications. In fact, I quite like one of the companies which created realistic dubbed foreign films and series using generative AI. I mean, essentially, probably my favorite use case of using deep fakes. Okay, generative AI essentially used deep fakes to help reduce the gap or the dissonance between lip sync and the dubbed language. So if I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone, in an English movie, originally English movie, Hollywood movie, and if that's being played or translated into or dubbed into Spanish. Earlier, my dialogue delivery and my movement was a certain way because I was speaking in English. But now, even my movements, my lip sync can be made to look like that I'm speaking in Spanish, right? So not just foreign translation, but even the image and the video editing to look very close to dubbing is what is being done by generative AI today.
Amazing, amazing. Um, a little bit about, then we can move over to the predictive analysis.
Yes.
How to optimize their pricing strategies and inventory management. Can you talk a little bit about how the generative AI can be used to analyze data from various sources and then maybe predict what kind of demand there will be for destinations and experiences?
So, in terms of predictive analysis to help, optimize pricing, has been existing not very long, but for the last few years, because of advancements of advanced data analytics, even advanced data analytics and early stage machine learning. Okay, that they were able to, in fact, early stage machine learning and AI engines, which were launched about in 2018-19 time frame, about 4 years ago, were able to get a lot of data about a destination, be it YouTube or Instagram posts, okay, and the comments that have been mentioned there, and GPT engines were able to do sentiment analysis as to understand the sentiment and the review, whether it's good, bad, and able to segment it and give inputs to the pricing engines if the AI engines have been developed with that kind of an intelligence. But this was possible even 3-4 years back, right? What generative AI engines can and are doing and will do right now is they are going to make that entire process that much more seamless, tight, and that much more accurate. Earlier, you had to build web crawlers, you had to build specific engines to get data from different websites, API integration, to get data, and then do the sentiment analysis and contextual analysis, and then over that lay over an intelligence layer to optimize the pricing. Right now, what generative AI engines do is generative AI engines can get all of that information, data, and sentiment analysis that much more faster and quicker and that much more accurately. Okay, so the speed and the experience and almost real time response time is what the generative AI engines bring to the table, and this will help in as you mentioned, predictive analysis of understanding when the rush is going to come for a specific destination. How can the pricing be optimized, which is the sweet spot pricing, the traffic prediction analysis, the room fill rates, and all of that can be done that much more swiftly and accurately, thanks to a whole lot of work being seamlessly done in a very cohesive manner by the generative AI engines.
Yeah, this really, we are living in a very revolutionary time, and I think it would
Absolutely.
be for anyone who is working in the hospitality industry. I was watching this social media influencer, Gary Vee, out
Right.
of the US, and he keeps on hammering. He used to talk about do a live video, that was his thing, and then he talked about podcasting.
Correct.
Now he says that learn every day something new
About AI.
AI, and
Correct.
start to practice prompts. And if you do one half an hour every day, you can learn very quickly, and that actually can open up a new job opportunity for you. And because eventually the people who learn about this prompts and how to use and understand how to they can extend their skills by using this for various things, whether it's for predictive analysis or sentiment analysis. I mean, this is a great future for anyone who is in who think that, well, I don't know how I can use this skill in my career. But how would you go about it? I mean, if you are in maybe going to hotel school and you think, well, I don't want to stand behind the front desk for the rest of my life. It's not very sexy to stand there. But how would they go about just to picking up some ideas and how to start to practice this skill? Is it free, or do you have to pay for all that? What are your thoughts?
For now, they are free to some extent. You have X number of tries, but very soon, all of these engines are going to they're going to be having some kind of subscription fee. For businesses, they already have subscription fee, right? Because running these generative AI engines is not cheap. I mean, I'm not sure of the number, but I remember reading it in one of the articles that it costs as high as $10 million to keep ChatGPT running every day in terms of cloud costs, server costs, computing costs, processing costs, and all of that, right? So they don't come cheap. And one other thing that you have to understand is that all these generative AI engines, be it ChatGPT, DALL-E 2, Midjourney, they're all being launched at peak performance, right? So most of them have been performing with almost peak computing power, processing power, and also the data that has been fed into it. So once they are launched, it's not like every year or two they're going to have another huge upgrade. So in what they can do and how fast they can learn, the accuracy will improve. Okay.
Yes.
But it's not like because they're already being launched at peak performance, so they are going to be come very soon. They're going to be some kind of a charging model for that. Okay. But if I were a young person just getting out of a university, out of a hotel management school or a tourism school, or getting into a school because I'm passionate about it, I'm passionate about the hospitality industry and the service industry, this is something that I have, especially for youngsters in of this particular industry. Okay. So again, some trend analysis, right? In one generation itself, okay, I personally have seen from as a kid to to whatever 40 something that I am right now, that three of the human faculties have been handed over to the machines, right? Three critical faculties. One was our ability to quickly think and calculate, or keep memory. When I was young, even 22 years ago, when I was in college, I remember I used to remember all the phone numbers by heart, and not just my parents' phone number, my friends' parents' phone number in the hostel that I was living, my hostel phone number, and all of that, right? So I had decent memory. I never used a black book to write down the phone numbers. Okay. And then came in the late 90s, early 2000s, these address books where you could enter digitally. Okay. And I also remember I used to be extremely fast at calculations, multiplications and divisions, and all of that. And then calculators have always existed, and calculators took away that speed and that speed of thinking and that processing power of mine, right? Then about 20 years back, or less than 20 years back, the search engines came, the Googles, okay, and the Wikipedias, okay, and they took away the amount of effort that was put in to gain knowledge. We all used to go to libraries, or look into encyclopedias, look into dictionaries, okay, to get the meaning of a word, synonym of a word, okay, and gain knowledge. Right now, for the last 15 plus years, all we do is Google search, right? We want anything, we can quickly Google search. So that thirst for knowledge, or the amount of effort put into gain or garner knowledge, has been again passed on to the internet and to Google. Now with generative AI, the power of reasoning, okay, is being taken over by the machines, right? I mean, I don't if a machine can take in one single line prompt and generate a 500 or a 2000 word article, okay, I don't think of speech writers, think of bloggers, think of my own job as an analyst, the analyst notes that I put out, okay, all that the machines can do, the lawyers, right? But what it is taking away is it's my ability to reason, it's my ability to communicate, okay. Those are the faculties of human faculties that the machine is taking over right now, okay. But that is also where I believe that the hospitality or the tourism industry still has an edge, because in that industry, all said and done, at the end of the day, you are still dealing with humans. Your guests are humans, okay. Your guests are not robots, okay. Your receptionist can be a robot, but your guest is always going to be a robot, okay. So the human interaction, the communication skills, the reasoning skills, the negotiation skills, okay, are all actually going to be continuing for a long time to come, at least for a generation or two, very easily, in the tourism and the hospitality industry. And this is going to be a critical skill set as far as the rest of the professionals are concerned, right? A human being who can still communicate effectively, articulate with other humans, and keep the reasoning skills intact as far as the others humans are concerned. Going forward, as these generative AI engines start taking over our lives, that particular skill set will actually become very premium and very sought after. So I would encourage anyone getting into the hospitality and the tourism industry and the service industry to actually look at that and keep and sharpen those skills. Okay, that is number one. And number two, you also have to understand this another trend which I talked about at again a tourism conference in London in 2019. It's actually the tourism and the hospitality industry which came up with some of the early innovations that right now the technology industry is adapting, okay, or adopting. For example, a very simple example is the differential pricing engines. Okay,
Yes.
Airfares have always been differentiated depending on, back in the day, even before the internet came in. Okay, when you were booking your flights through your travel agent. Okay, depending on how far away your travel date is and how confirmed you are, you were getting different pricing depending on the fill rate. Depending on the traffic, the pricing would change. Okay, depending on the number of seats available in the flight closer to the flight time, or number of rooms available in a hotel. The hotel room, the flight rates, and then airfare, and then the hotel rooms, they were always differential. And this is essentially the differential pricing is something, the concept of differential pricing is something that from the tourism and the hotel industry that's been taken and put on top of a very powerful technology engine, and the Ubers of the world came up, right? I mean, erstwhile taxi rates from point A to point B remained the same. Uber is the one who came and made the entire differential pricing, and now differential pricing is a norm when it comes to online grocery buying, app-based grocery buying, or anything, right? You ordering in food. So differential pricing engines are something that a generation ago the tourism and the hotel industry was using, and the tech industry adopted it only in the last few years. Similarly, there are other elements like I just mentioned. The entire human to human interaction, reasoning, communication, articulation abilities are something that again the hotel and the tourism industry is going to have an edge on as compared to every other industry, and is something that this industry can look at harnessing and providing it as a advantage, or using it as a leverage over other industries and over other professionals. That is something even in the generative AI world, even going forward, I very clearly see as a unique advantage of people and the characteristic of this particular industry.
Yeah. You mentioned some areas which are perhaps the downside. One of the downsides of using the chat GPTs or other generative AI is that because it will produce content for you with a lot of confidence that this is the way it is.
Yes.
And so I think we need to be more critical of what we are, what it produces, and actually use our analysis skills to see that. I mean, give you an example. I was writing a blog, and I asked the chat GPT to produce for me some content. I gave them the parameters for who it was and what was the focus, and I asked them to give some suggestions. And in less than 15 seconds, it spit out the 800-word piece for
Article.
me.
Yeah.
And when I started to read it, it sounded too good to be true. But then when I read it second time and third time, I realized I have to. I would not be allowed to put my name on it, because I have to really edit it very clearly and be very focused on exactly what it puts out. And it was partly whatever I asked it to do, it gave me, but it gave such a confidence. And I think that's a kind of a red flag when we are using that. We have to be quite critical of what it actually produces for us. What do you think?
I completely agree. Fact checking is going to be an extremely critical job and the need in the generative AI world. Very clearly. Yeah. Okay, that is going to come up. So yes, you said you put it right. I mean, the engine generates what you ask for it, and extremely confidently, and it's very easy to plagiarize that, take it and say it as your own. So that's where going forward, that's where the analyst role, for example, in the financial industry, in the stockbroking industry, financial analysts, or like us, management consultants, or even paralegals, okay, our ability to connect the dots will our need for connecting the dots will move from connecting the dots to fact checking, okay, everything that the generative AI is coming out with. Because like you very rightly said, going forward, the difference between, there's going to be a lot of noise, okay, so identifying the signal within that noise, or differentiating the chaff from the grain, is going to be extremely difficult. And going forward, that's going to be what is going to be extremely important. And putting your name onto something that's created by generative AI, if you do it without fact checking, okay, and that is going to become extremely difficult, mind you, it's going to become very
Yes.
murky. Okay, it won't be very easy, but anyone who will be able to do that, and right from the beginning has created their own methodology of, and the discipline of checking for facts, okay, is going to be going forward that much more authentic and genuine, and that much more premium as well. But
Yeah.
you're completely right, fact checking is going to be an extremely important skill set and the need going forward in the generative AI world.
Sure. Jayanth, it's been very, very interesting. I have one more question for you before
Sure.
we wrap up. One question that I like to ask all my guests, besides what we talked about, what other trends do you see happening in AI or deep technologies that we should be aware of? Is there something that you already have? Because I know that you have your antennas up and you always see what's going on. Is there anything else that you want to share with us that we should be aware of?
Like I said, in the AI, the AI world is going to make every one of us a coder. All of us can be product builders as far as software products are concerned. Okay, like I said, English is going to be the new programming language. Okay, and there's going to be a lot of content that is going to be created. A lot of it, not great. Okay, but we're going to be inundated with content. It's going to become very easy for marketeers. Okay, but going forward, at least for the foreseeable future, AI is only going to be and should be supplementing our way of work. Anyone who develops a very good hybrid strategy of integrating humans working with AIs, okay, working with AI, okay, is going to be the winner going forward. You have to know how to use these generative AI engines for your for your advantage. They can do a lot of repeat tasks fast. You should know in your profession, in your tasks, which are those repetitive in your job, which are those repetitive tasks that you can offload it to. But yeah, going forward for the foreseeable future, you're going to see generative AI engines creating a lot of stuff from out of thin air. There's a lot of creation that's going to be happening, and we can use all that creative power of the artificial intelligence engines, okay, in a lot of use cases and applications. So you, for the next 5 to 8 to 10 years, you will be seeing a new creative a new set of products, solutions, and use cases and applications coming in with harnessing the creative power of the AI engines.
Okay. So lastly, if people are interested to find out more about your activities, how can they do so and how can they find you?
I'm available on LinkedIn, Jayanth N Kolla, and my website, my company website is convergencecatalyst.com, and my email ID is mentioned there on the website.
Very good. Jayanth, I appreciate you joining today's episode and thanks for all the fantastic insight.
Thank you, Sam-Erik. Pleasure as always.